This is Catherine with A+ Staffing. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2019 iFLY, our big box sales training for the holiday season. We are thrilled all of you will be joining us this year. Welcome back to some of our staff that worked last season and our new staff. Pleased to have you on board as well. This is one of our most fun programs that we have every year, and very excited to get you set up for the holiday season with iFLY. I'd like to introduce Brendan and Jocelyn from iFLY in Austin, Texas. And at this time, I will turn it over to Brendan to take it away.
Thanks, Catherine. Welcome, everyone. You are probably sitting through this in all kinds of places all over the US. So thank you for attending this webinar. We're excited to share a couple of hours here with you as you lead into the fun part of onboarding with iFLY, which is getting to come experience flight at an iFLY in your local market. So today we represent or own and operate and build 37 locations in the US and around 84 locations globally. And we are more excited than ever to participate in big box programs, specifically in this case, the Costco program in 2019. Like Catherine said, welcome back for those of you that had a chance to come help us last year, and thank you for coming back. And for those of you brand new to the program, this training will really bring you up to speed on all things iFLY and all things to do with our Costco program. So with that said, I wanted to cover off on our agenda. So this series of training is broken into a couple of big chunks. And to start with, I wanted to share straight away what it looks like inside of Costco. And I'm sure many of you have been inside of a Costco before. If you haven't, no sweat. This is essentially what a typical display looks like inside of Costco. It's about 4 feet by 4 feet. It's a big box on a pallet that a forklift drops onto a concrete floor, and Costco members come up and review the sales content and merchandising content, which you see in those little squares or triangles on top of the pallet. So we're going to get into all that detail in this session, but we have an introduction to training. We're going to talk about sort of just partner etiquette and what it means to be inside of a brand like Costco. We're going to get into sales mentality, product knowledge, skills training, and try to really putting it all together. The goal of this onboarding and training isn't to form amazing salespeople in 2 hours. We totally expect and experience that this takes a journey. This takes someone from really being new to sales all the way to being competent to sales. That's the objective here. And because our product is so exciting, people generally enthused and so excited and really want to hear about iFLY. Just getting to a competent basis means you can be very successful in this program. And all in all, we are very excited, and we really take this seriously because us being inside of Costco is a very significant investment for our brand, but really one that makes sense when we look at when we have representation, whether it's our own team members going, which happens, or whether it's great people coming from A+ Staffing, then we really do see great return on investment. So again, thank you for being part of the program. Let's get rolling. So the first step is we want to talk about the goals of this session, and really I wanted to take a moment to ask a few obvious questions. Our goals is to really look at tools and techniques it takes to be successful in Costco, really build the confidence, and really level up the skill set of our A+ staffers, and really get into realistic scenarios. Now, all of you are watching this virtually, whether it's in your home offices, in your bedrooms, in your lounge rooms, in your backyards, depending on what part of the country you're in. Ultimately, we want you to be able to look at this content, and as you come and visit us at iFLY, have a really opportunity to practice some of that content now that you've had a chance to absorb it. And so there's a few tools that we're going to provide with you today and when you come to our facility that are going to really help this. But ultimately, there's a few questions here. Hopefully you can read them, and my video is not covering it up. But really want to know, in this training session, you'd really like to accomplish X. Or in this over the next course of the next 20 days, as you become part of this program, what are you looking to accomplish? And then after this program wraps up, after the holidays, what would you like to do? And I can honestly say that we have, over the course of 5 years of doing the Costco relationship, found some amazing people to come through the program. And some of those people have gone on to do great things in sales world, get great things in other positions. Sometimes they end up, after their period, end up coming into working for iFLY over a course of a period. So it's something to definitely know that we, A, appreciate it, and two, it's actually a great pathway for not just coming to become part of iFLY, but also go on to use those skill sets in other parts of the world that you may find an interest in. So make a note of those things, write them down. Again, our team, that when you meet our team at the location, they will probably ask you some of those questions as you come part of your orientation when you come inside of the iFLY experience in your local market. So the first section we're going to cover is an introduction of our Costco and really our experience, and there's a couple of really good illustrations that show you what happens every year in Costco. So for those of you that are completely unfamiliar with Costco, it is a membership-based organization. And so what that means is that people pay roughly $50 to $60 a year or per household to become a member of Costco. And they are really famous for having amazing deals, amazing value to members, really exclusive pricing that people can't typically find anywhere else. And so there's about 500 big boxes all over America. We map to 230 of those big boxes. So nearly half, or 46%, of iFLY tickets are inside of Costco nationwide. And we are one of their largest ticket programs. And think of things like Universal Studios or movie tickets, AMC movie theaters, Regal Cinemas, those type of brands are in a lot of locations as well. But given that we're in 37 locations in the US, we actually are one of their largest ticket providers. And really, our success in Costco and why we really love the program is because people coming into Costco are, for the most part, thinking about turkey, what turkey they're going to pick up, what sides they're going to pick up for Thanksgiving dinner. Are they going to get their pumpkin pie in Costco? Are they going to get 100 rolls of toilet paper inside of Costco? There's all kinds of reasons to buy in bulk at Costco. And really, the secret sauce for Costco is really the treasure hunt. And so we are one of those things that people don't expect to pick up when they walk in the door. And as you could imagine, most families aren't walking into Costco thinking, geez, I hope indoor skydiving is on an offer today. Most of the time it is because of our representation in Costco. It's the fact that we're wearing suits, which we'll get into. It's ultimately a curious thing, and people stop and ask questions, and as soon as they realize it's the iFLY down the road that's there and has a presence, that creates a lot of curiosity, which is why we really believe in staffing. So Costco itself is a very successful retail brand, and really why it's important to us is that they've become over the years one of our largest distribution partner. And iFLY, we sell to the military, we sell to mum, dad, and the kids, we sell to different groups, skydivers, drop zones all over the country. But actually, Costco distribution is by and large one of our best channels and our highest volume. And you'll see in the chart on the right there, you kind of see exactly what we mean. So this is last year from week 39, which is pretty much the end of September, all the way to week 21 this year, which was sort of the midway through like springtime. You'll see the big spike there. There's two really big spikes, one in week 47 and then one in week 51. And as you probably have guessed, that is Thanksgiving Black Friday period, where traffic is incredibly high in both those weeks. And we match our staffing schedule a lot to really make sure that we're in the warehouses at that time, because again, that's when peak gifting season's being given, and iFLY, as you could imagine, is a really giftable experience for people that are looking for things to do, fun things, adrenaline gifts, just things that are beating most of the other common gifts out there, like socks and jocks, which is what I tend to get now that I'm a dad. So I would say, again, it's exciting that the demographics make sense. Just to share with you about Costco members, The average household income of a Costco family is around 80 to 125,000. So on the middle to upper side of income in the US. They typically buying 10 plus things when they come into a Costco. They typically are coming in at least once a month to a Costco. I know I can attest to that. I'm about a once a month person as a Costco member. And the average basket size is $103. And when you think about your local grocery store where you're picking up 2 or 3 items, the average basket size is probably $20 to $30. So people are typically coming into Costco with the expectation that they're going to go big, which is why when you look at our price and product, which we'll get into, it's important that we price it the way we have. So all kinds of colorful charts and stats on there. That the message is that people that are typically a Costco family are really in line with our Costco, iFLY customers as they come in. Cool. So the next step, we have a number of videos. You'll be excited to know that we're going to combine a bunch of pre-recorded videos that we have developed over the years that specifically tied to the training materials, along with myself coming in to do a sort of a visual on-camera display here for 2019. So some of these videos have been recorded in the prior years. We've scrubbed all that content to make sure it's relevant still in 2019, and we have some updated videos that we're going to share that were just done a couple of days ago in some local warehouses, which we're excited to share about. But this video is the longest one. It's really designed to take someone from not knowing anything about the Costco experience all the way through to coming into the iFLY. And then we're going to get into some specific information about product knowledge and then obviously some skills training. So I'll press record and we'll turn it up and we'll back to you after the video finishes.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Costco Sales Training video series. My name is Braden Smith and I'm here to teach you about the iFLY gift card promotion we have here at Costco. I'm currently an iFLY employee. I've spent a lot of time in Costco stores as a representative of the iFLY brand. The partnership that iFLY and Costco have developed over the past 4 years has been hugely beneficial to both businesses. It's also proven to be a great opportunity for iFLY employees to reach out to their local community, educate them about our business, and make some great extra money. In the next sections of this video, we'll be going over how to set yourself up for a successful day of selling. We're also going to give you some direct sales tools that are going to help to increase your numbers. But first, it's important that before we enter this building, that you're ready to do these 3 things.
Be respectful of your environment. Costco takes their sales affiliate program very seriously and expects every representative to be visually presentable and polite. This means your physical appearance and general demeanor when dealing with customers is paramount. Be an iFLY representative. iFLY's employees are expected to work when they arrive at the tunnel, and iFLY expects the same behavior at Costco. iFLY does understand that you will need time to take breaks, to use your cell phone, and maybe visit some of the other vendors. This is totally acceptable, but please try and make these breaks brief and infrequent. Enjoy this journey and make some money. This sales affiliate program is an opportunity for some of us to step outside of our comfort zone and experience a direct sales environment. Direct sales experience is an incredible tool for you to have with you. The first few hours might be awkward or difficult, but within a couple of days you'll develop the skills to break ice with total strangers and encourage them to partake in a life-changing experience. Developing and exercising this person-to-person sales skill will shape your future. iFLY representatives are also generously compensated for their hard work. Look at every customer as a possible sale. They're already there to spend money, and everyone is looking for gift ideas, especially in the holiday season. Approaching customers in Costco is not a burden to them. In many cases, you're the unique gift they've been looking for.
As you may have told from that video that was shot a few years ago, and so a couple of days ago we popped into a local warehouse in Austin, and we really wanted to show you the upgraded display, which we're really pumped about. There's some advancements here. You can see it on my left shoulder here on the screen. We'll leave that up throughout the duration of the training. But this video, as we go into it, is really a breakdown the anatomy of what a display looks like. And when you come back from that video, we're going to show you some of the alternative looking displays that we have inside the Costco program.
Hi, welcome back to the Costco sales training video series. I have behind me an amazing looking palette, which is the iFLY display palette inside of Costco around the country in about 230 warehouses. So I just wanted to take a moment to break down what is on the display so you guys can look out for this when you are going into Costco, and more importantly understand a bit of the science behind the design, which I think is quite useful in 2019. On top we have a TV that's looping the 30-second iFLY video. As Braden mentioned on the previous videos, the volume should just be a moderate volume, but it's designed to really inspire, educate, and showcase what the iFLY experience is. This video is one of the biggest tools you'll have when explaining the experience to Costco members. Next up we have the tower, which is exactly a continuation of education, showing people what the experience is. You've got a young child flying in the tunnel, which a lot of families in Costco have children that are going to be looking for this as a Christmas gift. You've got our instructor there that's with the student, making sure that they're safe in the wind. And then also you've got our exterior shot. So most iFLYs will have this type of design and look, and a lot of our locations are located on the side of freeways. So this is designed for a lot of those Costco members that have driven past our location, just not knowing what it looks like inside, and they can obviously recognize the building because it says indoor skydiving across the top, which is a bit of a help. Down below, you've also got some more imagery to showcase what is possible after some progression flying. But again, the most important tool is going to be A, the TV, and 2, the placard, which is designed to explain the value and the details of the actual package that we're merchandising inside of Costco. So we'll have another video that explains what's on here. But yeah, we look forward to a successful program. And again, getting this type of display is really important, so work with A+ staffing on making sure we have this type of display to our best chance of being successful on the day in Costco.
Cool, so that's what our display looks like inside of Costco when we have a pallet and a TV on top. And it's really important to note that we really push for that display. So as we make confirmation calls with warehouse GMs, the central Costco buying team are pushing that direction down to the regional teams and the local team. But ultimately, Costco GMs do have a lot of autonomy of how their store or how their warehouse is showing and presenting. So it's really important, A, to use professional communication when it comes to asking requests for them, but by all means, we definitely want to have the best display because that really improves our chances of being successful when we go and staff warehouses throughout the country. So on the screen here, you'll see a number of different types of displays that are alternative, that all can be quite successful. So on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the pallet display that we just showed. All the other images, though, are actually not pallets. These are actual tables that we are able to have set up by Costco warehouse teams, the merchandising managers, and they have TVs on top. So the most important tool isn't actually the pallet. It is the best way to display, but actually it's that big TV. And the image you'll see in the center here is from our Calgary market where our staff are representing. They're all wearing cowboy hats for fun. But ultimately, they are having that TV looping, which is the most powerful way to describe and explain the iFLY experience. On the bottom left, you'll see it's somewhat similar. But again, if we are able to have the placards on display on a table with TV on top, and that maybe is adjacent to what we refer to as a pegboard. And behind the video here, I'm going to see if I can just slide this down. You'll see in the top right-hand corner, that's an example of what a pegboard looks like. So having a display there with a table next to it with a TV is also actually a good setup, and that typically in November and December is going to be in a really high traffic area because, as you can imagine, not just iFLY but lots of different brands are selling lots of gifts at this time of year. So whether it's a pegboard or a pallet, it's going to be that's a typical display. If you're on a pegboard, for example, and you don't have a TV or you don't have a table showing, we want to know about that because we will go on a deliberate and active campaign with Costco to have those type of things put in place. Again, being professional about it, we're not going to be demanding these things from our warehouses. Often it's a matter of education. It's a matter of influence from their bosses to push that direction down. So we will support you with that. It's a conversation we're very accustomed to having, and it's very much the best warehouses that we have you going to are also going to be the ones that are typically giving us the best displays, because they know a pallet and a TV or a table are the ingredients for being successful for our staff. So the good news is Costco and iFLY are both very familiar with this practice of staffing, and you should be going into some veteran warehouse managers that know exactly what to do. So moving on. So on partnership etiquette, I just touched on it, but again, there's a few key things from dress code, punctuality, attendance, is just really a common sense things, but they're really worth noting. Perhaps the only thing we get back from Costco warehouses, other than sales numbers, is just these three things that they sometimes mention if they aren't happy with our appearance when we've shown up on time, and obviously a no-show, for example. So it's really important that from a dress code standpoint, we are in flight suits, as you see with Dan in this photo here. It is one of the most important parts of being presented. A flight suit will have people curious. A flight suit will have people come up and ask you questions before you've even opened your mouth, and that it is the most powerful way to explain the iFLY experience. It's funny, Jocelyn and I were in that local warehouse in Austin 2 days ago, and before we even could get our sentence out, the GM of the warehouse was saying, everyone's going to be wearing a flight suit, right? And he doesn't even work for iFLY, and he's saying that. So it's a very powerful thing to have. You can wrap the flight suit around your waist, particularly if you're in a warehouse that's got the heaters on. And it's, again, an iFLY t-shirt, I'm wearing one as an example, is also suitable to have some messaging. We've got great gifting shirts available at the tunnel. You can ask your local GM of iFLY for that. An iFLY cap is suitable, like Dan's wearing there, and of course clothes and footwear. You're going to probably want that anyway, but that's just a bit of a no-brainer. The key is comfortable shoes. I mean, obviously, if we're there for 7.5 hours on the day, again, having comfortable shoes is going to be an important thing. Punctuality, so it's very important that we show up when we say we're going to show up. With iFLY and A+, we'll support you with that, making sure that the schedule's crystal clear. If you are going to happen to be late because of traffic or because some unforeseen circumstance, please make that call to the local warehouse just to let them know you're running a bit behind, but you'll be there. And the reason for that is because the GMs will go out of our way to set up our display in the best possible place. And if we don't show up, then they're losing perhaps real estate to someone that could do a roadshow, could do another high-selling item. So A, they really believe in the staffing and the roadshows that we do, but it's really important that we show up, otherwise they're going to be a little bit jaded because we've given us great real estate, but we haven't actually supported it with our brand ambassador. So that's the reason and the context as to why it's really important to communicate and really over-communicate any changes to the schedule. And again, like I mentioned, attendance, just letting them know, giving them a heads up. And again, as your A+ team, they'll want to know as well. And I know Catherine can speak to the check-in and check-out process when it comes to the app. Excuse me. Okay, so really switching now to less of the housekeeping items when it comes to the program and more of the approach and attitude. And we fully recognize that some of you might be really new to direct sales and really doing brand ambassador work, and others are quite experienced. So when we break it down, like the purpose of mentioning this in a particular way, and we actually have a video to support this as well, is that sales is all about attitude. And again, having a good attitude is really easy when you're typically starting your shift or starting your day. Maintaining your attitude is the big challenge. There'll be periods throughout your 7.5 hours a day inside of the Costco that are ultimately going to become quite challenging. So it's finding those things that drive you and motivate you, whether that's family, whether it's making extra money for the holidays, whether it's becoming the best seller and winning one of our contests that we'll have. That's really important while we're out there to really find your reason as to what keeps you motivated. And for me, it's my family. I've got 2 young boys. When I'm having a tough day, again, I'm thinking about what it means to work and what it means to be able to provide for them. So find that individual reason, and again, it could be something we ask you as you come in and do an orientation in our location. And really, your attitude is dictated by you. Take control of the attitude. Try to avoid some of the common pitfalls that are mentioned here. which is things like my warehouse sucks or my store sucks, and things like no one's coming by, it's not busy, it's various things have happened, and we've heard it all before. And it's not to say that some of those things maybe aren't true from time to time, but again, the very minimum, the best thing you can do is maintain your attitude and find that reason that drives you and motivates you. So know that great sellers and great representatives lose their attitudes, often. It's about the ability to get back that attitude and salvage the day. And again, with Costco, which we'll explain in this video, you'll learn that the peak times of Costco are really at the end of the day. So famous quote that we use internally at iFLY is, again, you must divorce yourself from the value of money. And what we mean by that is you never know when a CEO, a CEO or a family's walking in that's looking for a holiday outing, and all of a sudden that one conversation that you have turns a mediocre day into a great day because they have a family of 6 and need 6 vouchers, and all of a sudden you've gone from 5 or 6 to 11 or 12, and you turn it into a great successful day for both iFLY, Costco, and for your own pocketbooks. So with that said, we have some more ingredients to be successful, and obviously we look at, okay, it's good, one thing to have a great attitude, it's another to be able to support, it's another thing to support with making sure we have the right price for product to go and promote. And so when we look at these things, these ultimately give you great confidence in knowing that you've got sort of the best deal in town when you're in that Costco, and they can only access it because A, they're in that Costco and they're a member of Costco. So our approach when it comes to marketing, this is very much education and letting them know this is actually like a membership benefit, and this is a great deal. So by being in the Costco program, it's going to be a really competitive offer, and we want to really give you that confidence. So A, is our product good? Well, you guys will be the judge of that because you'll come on our orientation shortly to your local iFLY. You get to experience the product yourself. You get to fly in the wind. You'll reach terminal velocity twice, along with a high flight, which we'll explain what that is. We have an amazing price. The value we provide is upwards of 36% off than what some of these families would be coming in and doing over the holidays. So you've got a really compelling offer. If there's any discounts out there, most of our discounts are in the 10 to 15, 20% off range. So by and large, the Costco program is an amazing offer to access the best times of the week, which is our busiest times are on the weekend. And from a service standpoint, we have raving reviews. Our TripAdvisor reviews, if you Google them, they're amazing. They're all 5 stars. We have certificates of excellence from every TripAdvisor. So everyone that comes to do an iFLY experience will come up to you and say, I've done iFLY, at an amazing time. And that's a chance to talk to them about when they're coming back, and 2, who else do they have that needs to be gifted this experience so they can come enjoy iFLY as well. And again, I think most companies, I mentioned this on the slide here, but most companies have 2 of these things, and we think we've got more of them. So we're really confident about our experience, and this year we'll forecast to convince 90,000 people that iFLY is a great gifting option this holiday season. And in sales, the best way to look at it from a mentality standpoint is looking at sales, as you probably have all heard, is a numbers game. And so when it comes to direct sales and direct promotions, by and large, we're not looking to convince everyone that iFLY is for them. There's going to be lots of people out there that are either this is not their cup of tea, and that's totally fine, but they're going to hear about the iFLY experience and have a positive sentiment about the experience. And it's really important that looking at 1 to 10 or 10 out of 100 is really our mantra when it comes to being successful. It's very difficult to have a really successful day in Costco if we've only spoken to 10 people, because really law of averages states we're probably only going to convince 1 person. But if we talk to 100 people, then our chances of doing 10 sales a day is really, really strong. And there's lots of data to support this. I come from the direct sales world, and I swear by this as well. And it's just important to know that at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. And again, you never know when you're going to speak to that business owner, that family that's ready to do that big family outing. So just a great way to guard your attitude against a lot of the no's that are coming into. So again, another expression is every no leads you closer to a yes, and this is true when it comes to the working the Costco program. Braden's going to come back and talk to a bit about sales video. So Braden is one of our instructors a few years ago that really excelled in the training of Costco, both working it as well as being an instructor in our wind tunnel. So I'll turn it over to Braden to touch base on the sales mentality topic, because he gives a great perspective coming as an employee of iFLY.
Long start.
Here's the honest truth about Costco. It has the potential to discourage you, it really does. You might spend long hours at the store when it's not very busy and it can get you down. But before you let that emotion change the way you feel about the entire Costco program, here are some facts. The iFLY promotion at Costco outsells every other gift card in the store. We are their #1 seller. Last year we did over 3 million in sales. This year we're projected to do over 4. Now there's been stores in the past that have sold more than 3,000 gift cards in 1 week. iFLY handpicks the Costco stores based on the local demographic. We simply don't staff stores that they're going to sell poorly at. The reason why I'm telling you this is because every store that you enter has the potential for monster sales. Now, if there's one piece of advice you should take away from this section, it's this. Take a break. That's it. Take a break. At 4:30 p.m., leave the store. If caffeine's your thing, grab a cup of coffee and energy drink, call your mom, call your significant other. You can even jog around the outside of the store if you want. Just clear your mind. So when 5 p.m. rolls around, you're ready to enter the store with so much enthusiasm and energy that your potential customers can feel it. The next 3 hours of your evening have the potential to change an awful day of selling into an excellent one, and your paycheck will reflect that.
Cool. So now that we understand a bit more about sales mentality, we have a chance to talk about actually what are we going to be promoting, marketing, and ultimately selling inside the Costco channel. So this year, we are going to be working on a 2-flight voucher experience. So on the next slide, we have a video about the difference between maybe previous versions, which is going to be important to know as you head into Costco this year. But this year, it's a 2-flight experience with a flight video of one of those flights. And actually, it's up to a 30% discount on our normal gate prices. And you're probably wondering what all the 3 letters and 4 letters are on the right-hand side. And so in the United States, we have 37 locations, and a 2-flight experience in those locations is varied depending on the market that you're in. So as you're working with your GM of iFLY, as you come in and do your orientation, you want to know obviously which column you're in. And so, for example, if you're Atlanta, you see at the top of Tier 2, ATL. That means the 2-flight experience in your location is a $69.95. The video value is $8. So simply put, the 2-flight and video experience is valued at $78, something that we retail, as you see in the first paragraph there, for $49.99 or $98. So the further up you go in tiers, meaning if you look at New York, for example, that's at a $59 price in Costco. The value of that experience is $89.99 in iFLY New York, $8 video again. So actually the whole total package value is $98. So whether you're in Tier 1 or Tier 4, it is actually the best deal in the market and really compelling for a couple of reasons. That we're going to get into it in the video, but the experience itself is actually inclusive of all the things you see on the screen there. So every iFLY experience comes with safety equipment, which includes a helmet and goggles and earplugs, all the way through to your full flight suit that is designed for the wind tunnel. And actually the flight suits are designed to help you fly or help the customers fly. An IBA instructor is going to be with that customer at all times, and the more competent the flyer becomes in the tunnel, the more freedom they have in the tunnel. But ultimately the role of the instructor, whilst they're great flyers in the wind tunnel and they're spectacular to watch, their ultimate role is for safety, to make sure that every single customer we have that comes through is able to have an amazing time, learn progression in the wind, but ultimately making sure that we take all the precautions we need to flying. And there's something called the International Body Flight Association, which is think of them as the governing body of wind tunnel instructors that are sort of governing their training. They dictate the curriculum, the levels of training, similar to like martial arts, how you have green belt, yellow belt, blue belt, black belt. Probably got the wrong order there. The point is we have level 1, 2, 3, 4 instructors, depending on their experience and how much training that they've completed. Each of the packages, whether you have the $49 or the $59 package in Costco, is valid 7 days a week, and they're fully transferable, meaning so a customer could buy 3 or 4 of them, give them to 3 or 4 different people. They don't need to know the original purchaser's name. They're all completely transferable, and they don't expire. So again, we have occasionally have vouchers coming in from many years ago. These things don't expire, which makes them the perfect gift for anyone giving them that isn't exactly sure when they want to come in and do that flight experience. So this year, we are promoting a complete experience. In years past, over the last 2 years, we have promoted a gift card. Think of them like two $50 gift cards. So we're going to get into some of those reasons why, and more importantly, talk about some of the reasons why this is a great thing for customers and Costco members to actually benefit from.
Hi, welcome back to the Costco video sales training series. A popular question in 2019 might be, why is the version of the program this year a voucher or a 2-flight video voucher versus a gift card? It's been over the last couple of years. And so there's 2 main reasons for that. The first one is gifting price. And so last year and the year before, it was in excess of $70, the price of the package in Costco. We've actually lowered it this year to either $49 or $59, depending on the market. The reason for that is because we really wanted to make sure it was a really attractable, giftable price. And think of people buying multiples or stocking stuffers. A $49 gift is much easier than trying to work out what to get with a $70 gift, which it was in previous years. So the second reason is lots of people gave us feedback last year, both iFLY team members that are flying our customers, along with Costco members, is that they thought when they bought 2 $50 gift cards like they did in years past, they would have thought that would be good for 2 people. And so, as you know now, our price is either around $60, $70 or $80 typically in an iFLY location. So we've actually made the package a complete package or an experience because of that feedback. So buying 2 of these this year will mean that your 2 people can come in, don't have to fork out any additional money. We know they're probably going to want a high flight though, but the important thing is they can give it as a gift and no extra dollars are needed. So that's the 2 reasons why you'll see this year is a voucher program or an experience versus a dollar-based gift card in years past.
Next, we have our brand video, which is really an important way to show someone how the experience works. So in Costco, throughout many of the warehouses will have TVs, as you've seen in our original video there. There'll be a looping video. That video is very modern and recent, which is what's going to be our standard video for Costco and warehouses this year. But this video that we have here ultimately is a great way to show you as a representative of iFLY, anyone that's fascinated by the technology, to show how actually the wind tunnels work. So I'm sure there's a few new things you'll learn about the experience, and so this is all about how iFLY works.
The dream of flight is as old as human imagination, one that transcends all cultures and ages. Until recently, only a few people could live that dream. But not anymore. iFLY's mission is to make this dream a reality for everyone. In 1998, iFLY created modern indoor skydiving by inventing the technology to make it safe and fun for all. iFLY is not a ride, it's an interactive experience. You control how your body moves. You decide how high you go. Every flight is different, and every flight is better than the last. Here's how it works. iFLY's patented high-efficiency fans power this amazing experience. They generate up to 120 miles per hour of wind that is directed down the sides of the tunnel, under the building, and back up into the flight chamber. The result is a smooth wall-to-wall cushion of air on which anyone from ages 3 to 103 can safely fly. To date, iFLY has flown more than 6 million people on 4 continents and even at sea. iFLY created the market and is now recognized globally as a premium entertainment brand. iFLY operates 37 tunnels in 10 countries, with an additional 29 currently under construction. the company has identified more than 800 potential tunnel locations globally. Flying is no longer limited to a lucky few. iFLY is making the dream of flight a reality for everyone.
Okay, so next we have some exciting updates which we really want to make sure you as our representatives have full visibility on and what's coming in the next 7 weeks as we embark on Costco 2019. So there's a slew of things that we do in the core gifting season to really drive volume and promotion. As you saw on like the second page, you saw there was a big spike in the holidays. That's actually not just seasonality is what's causing that. It's obviously the number one thing, but there's a slew of things that we do to really capture that volume. And these are all, think of these as all things that are going to help you be successful on the day when you're representing iFLY in Costco. So the first thing is not to spend tons of time on this, but the price. This year we are marketing a $49 or $59 price, as you are aware. And like I mentioned in that video, we're coming down on price because we want to make it more giftable. Think of it as a grandmother that has 3 grandchildren. They're able to pick up 3 vouchers, and for $150, the grandkids' stocking stuffers are covered for the holiday season. Versus previously, they were sort of a little bit unsure about like what does the $100 gift card get me, and do I need to buy multiple? And that confusion was sort of getting in the way of people just saying yes and saying yes quickly. The next is we have an updated design. So like I walked through, the palette design is very much VR-centric in years past, with our virtual reality experience. This year it's more about core flying and what could you expect when you look in the building, when you walk into the building, and really educating the customer of those big towers, as well as the photos on the back of the placard. So that's quite deliberate. The next we have is really the drivers of volume, which is the staffing, which is what we're all doing here. So it's our partnership with A+ Staffing, which does hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shifts across the country in the next 7 weeks. We also support it with internal staffing. So our own instructors and our own customer service reps will also complement inside of the schedule to help continue the momentum. And they're typically doing sometimes staffing on a Wednesday or Thursday just before you arrive in November. And the next piece is the promos. And this is perhaps the biggest lever that you guys will have in Costco. So the Costcos are the ones in blue there. And what that means is that on those given dates, which is really the week of Thanksgiving, as well as the 10 days prior to Christmas, we actually will be, in addition to the percentage off that the standard packages, it'll actually be an additional 10% off. So for those that are selling a $49 package, it'll be $5 off that. For those that are selling a $60 package, it'll be $6 off that on a set date range when you're working there. So that's, again, a great way to add that to a Costco member that's potentially interested in buying now versus having to wait later on, is because it actually they'll save additional funds. On those dates, our volume spikes 3 or 4 times than what it normally is. Costco members look for those savings. So picture the price on the back of the pallet. There'll be a big highlighter, a big sticker that says, hey, this is a limited time only savings, and it will also help people sort of jump on the deal now versus waiting further deeper into the holiday season. And lastly, placement. Placement's everything. Often we earn that through providing representatives and putting a robust roadshow schedule like we've got on the calendar here with A+ in our internal efforts. But we will also look at where we don't have great placement, and maybe we're on further back in the warehouse and we want to bring that forward. We actually make a financial investment of actually buying some of that placement. So we're really keen to know where you are. We want to know if we need to rectify things. We can allocate funds towards improving our placement because we know that when we have staffing, a great rep, a well-trained rep, as well as great placement, those two things combined, typically we knock it out of the park. So just know that we are really keen to check in on where we are, particularly where we're staffing throughout the holiday season. So lastly, but ever more importantly, are our terms and conditions. It's really important to know that running at 30, 36% off, depending on the market, is really important that we have some set terms. And without having to read it line for line, it's really important that we know when you do your orientation, the iFLY general manager will reiterate what these terms and conditions are. But the big ones are they can't be used with any other gift cards or promotions. Excuse me. It can't be redeemed towards a birthday or group event. So we have a group and event team, a sales team that's selling corporate events, education field trips. We really try to focus this product on families and really anything from 6 or less or 5 or less into our experience. And it's really, that's essentially what the core customer is doing. Other things to keep in mind is a waiver must be completed. So because this is a physical experience, it's very much an active experience. If someone has got neck, shoulder, or back concerns, whether it's a dislocated shoulder from an old football injury to if someone's pregnant, as you could imagine, we don't permit that person to fly. And there is a waiver process that they do once they enter the facility. And that's why we ask you guys to join us for that orientation, because you're going to go through the complete experience the same way a Costco member will. And even if you did that last year, we're welcoming you back to come do it again. Probably will fly a bit better than the newbies on the call, but again, the opportunity to fly again is there, and we look forward to having you back. Other key things is cancellations. We have a cancellation policy of 48 hours, so it's the last sentence there. It's just important to know that that cancellation policy is enforced, and anyone that moves their reservation inside that 48-hour window can move it at no cost, but they can't receive a refund on that experience. Again, Costco is very liberal when it comes to refunds. They tend to return everything. We don't have again, this is less than a fraction of 1% of our inventory gets returned, but it does pop up, and just know that our standard cancellation is 48 hours. Cool. So now we're transitioning from learning that sales mentality to what is the actual promotion and product. These are the actual vouchers that you see on inside of the warehouse. So as someone takes that placard and display, they pay for it at the Costco register. This is exactly what they're going to receive. So if they bought 3 vouchers, they would see the front and back of this, and actually it's a beautiful 4 by 9-inch card, very thick, so it's quite premium of nature, and it's got some really cool graphics on it. So the actual voucher number, the number that they would use to redeem on our website, is going to be in that white box there, and so it'll be a 16-digit number, starts with 561, and that's what's used when they click on redeem a voucher, and they'll go through the entire booking flow. They can reserve online. It's really easy to do. So it's important though that they don't take the placards with them to Costco, to iFLY, because that can't redeem anything. They have to have these actual tickets. They're going to be inside merchandise pickup, and your warehouse manager will show exactly where that is, and they're quite helpful in explaining that. So now we're going to get into some of the more steps to how we actually converse and how we have a conversation. And for every topic here, we have a complementing video to show sort of a real-life example, which these videos were shot in Costco. So you kind of give a really good sense of what it's like and how the conversation does flow. So the first step we have is ultimately the introduction. So think of our steps to a conversation as 5 steps. We have smile, eye contact, enthusiasm as the 3 sort of pillars of this step. So that's all about building comfort, curiosity, and trust. Again, if I don't have good eye contact, people are going to want to know what's up with this guy or gal. And so that really diffuses a lot of the skepticism and really uncertainty about someone making a good first impression. Like the old adage, you obviously only get one chance to make that first impression. So C factors, smile, eye contact, enthusiasm, is quickly followed by a really compelling icebreaker. And it's perhaps the number one thing that we don't do as beginning our sales career, is we tend to go straight into what we're trying to do, what we're trying to sell, what we're trying to promote. And people's guard tends to be up when we tend to do that. So if anything today, it's all about understanding that always use an icebreaker for a couple of reasons. And the next video is going to show you an example.
All right, guys, so welcome back. So we wanted to start off the training series today with really how to have a conversation with a customer. So this will basically be a 5-step process. Really think of it as the skeleton of a conversation of how we want to approach complete strangers on our concept for iFLY. So the first step is the introduction. And so when you think of a customer walking up, a complete stranger, how do you approach them?
Well, you want to start off with what they call a C approach, S-E-E. It stands for smile, make eye contact, and be enthusiastic, right? You want to smile, show that you're having a good time. You want to make that eye contact to draw them in. And if you're not enthusiastic, why do they want to buy from you? You want to do this before you try to jump right into your sales pitch, right? Bring them in with a nice warm smile, eye contact, and enthusiasm. And then you can go right into an icebreaker.
And so I guess the common thing when you've worked Costco all throughout last year, I mean, what's the common mistake you think someone that's brand new at this does when they first go into Costco? Do you think they just go into their sales pitch straight away, or?
Yeah, that does seem to be a big problem. They'll get real antsy. Oh, check out what we've got here. Yeah. And people are kind of thrown off about that. They don't like salesmen. The salesman has a bad analogy for it. You want to kind of bring them in, make sure that you approach them like a regular human being. That's what you are, that's what they are. You got to find that commonality, break the ice, get down on their level or up to their level, however you see it. And kind of make that personal touch.
So smile, eye contact, enthusiasm, acting like we really want to obviously be there. Yeah. And then you mentioned icebreaker. So when you say icebreaker, is there something that you typically rely on for an icebreaker to kind of make the customer feel easy and you easy?
Yeah, so I've got a very personable sense of humor. I like to make jokes. Did you see the price on those pork chops they got back there? Amazing deal. If you're not as personable, maybe you can talk about weather's an easy one. You could also talk about sports teams if you see that they have a logo on their shirt and you happen to know anything about that sport. And if you see they have kids, bring up that maybe this is an amazing thing for the kids to try. Kids generally love this. Right. Also, you can bring up the fact that the holidays are right around the corner. People are starting to stress. What am I going to get for the holidays?
Got it. To break the ice, have fun, and that's really before we even get into the sales pitch as well. So great tips, guys. We're going to go straight into the next step, which is the short story, which we'll cover in the next section.
Okay, so now that we've broken the ice, and we've created some, say, neutral territory, now it's all about the short story. And the short story is all about trying to qualify the Costco member so that we're able to understand who we want to go deeper into the presentation with, and who do we simply want to say, hey, let's move on and let's give that person a chance to go do their shopping, and let's go talk to the 5 other people that are about to walk by. And so this is perhaps the most important step of all, because it just allows me as a rep to understand who I'm going to engage with and who I'm going to simply spend time with and who I'm going to let move on. And so that's also a way I guard my attitude and understand I don't want to speak to everyone about our complete experience. So I'm going to break down the steps, and again, we have another video to show you what it looks like in real life. And so the steps to accomplish how to have a short story is simply, who am I, why am I here, what am I doing, and a great qualifying question. And there's 100 great qualifying questions. I'll put a simple one, and I'll give you a bit more color to why it's a simple one. Is simply say, hi, my name is Brendan. I'm with iFLY Indoor Skydiving, and the reason I'm in the red suit today, or the flight suit today, is that for the holidays, Costco is featuring iFLY, and we get to tell everyone about how we're saving 30% off for members today. So quick question. Would you or anyone in your family ever consider trying something like iFLY in the next 12 months? And simply, a qualifying question of that nature is open-ended. And instead of saying something like, do you want to fly, which is a bit more closed, I go simply, would you or anyone that you know? And I say it with that little upward tone because I'm getting them to think about cousins and nephews and neighbors and favorite teachers that maybe they need to consider a small gift for on them. So again, you want to avoid things like, have you heard of iFLY? Do you want to fly? Have you ever thought of flying? Because these tend to be more yes/no responses, and all we're doing at this stage is trying to engage and get them to think a little bit outside their own world of their current grocery shopping list. So again, this is super key, and this video will help explain it further.
So Dan mastered this last year, and so we're going to give Dan as an example of someone that's broken the ice as the customer, and Dan's going to give us a great short story as an example. So.
All right, so we're here with iFLY today, and what we're doing, we're putting huge savings on all our packets just in time for the holidays, right? Have you ever thought about coming in, or maybe you know some people who
I've seen it there on the freeway, but what's going on?
Perfect, so check this out. What we've got is this great deal.
And that's where we go into the third step, which is the presentation as well. So the key, guys, is who are we, why we're there, what we're doing, and the qualifying question is all about making the customer open-minded to coming to iFLY. We want to avoid the conversation which is about, do you think you'd like to do iFLY, or do you think you want to go indoor skydiving? You want to typically do more open-ended questions, which is something along the lines of, do you or anyone in your family like to go do iFLY? And that helps the customer open their eyes up to thinking, I have a son or a daughter or a relative that maybe really love to do iFLY and maybe not be for them themselves as well. So good luck in that short story. It's a key step, because if we can get that placard in the customer's hand, again, 9/10 of the sale is all about possession, and you're on your way. Good luck.
Okay, so now that we've qualified our Costco member, there's an engagement happening, there's a neutral opportunity, and I've tried to understand exactly who it is that actually is coming to fly. It's time for the presentation, and this is all about making a recommendation. So before we do that, we have to really build up excitement and enthusiasm, and how we do that is through a great presentation. So again, as I enter the conversation, I'm also further qualifying the customer. So as I put the placard in the hand of the customer, which is a step that we'll showcase in this video, I'm also asking them another question. It's a lot of questions, and so I do that by saying, if you came to iFLY, how many people would you think would come? And if I ask that question, I'm going to get a bunch of information back to help tailor my presentation. I'll find out if the grandmother is bringing 5 grandchildren, 2 grandchildren. I'll find out if the CEO is talking about bringing his staff, maybe for a happy hour, lunch and fly type event. I'm going to find out from the mother that maybe is buying this so grandma and grandson can do something together. So again, all this information is really, really key as I get into deeper into the presentation. But the first step, once they have some of that information and they're able to hold the actual package, which is key, I really want to break down the value of the experience. Instead of just going straight to, hey, iFLY is amazing, you get to fly, do you want to do this? I really want to be able to look at building up the value. So the way I do that is say, normally at iFLY, it would cost $78 to do this experience, where you get a couple of flights, all the rental gear, and the flight video. This price includes everything to experience your first flight, from gear to instruction, and because you are a Costco member, they've set this up so the best part is you get this at 30% off, and it's just under $50 or under $60 depending on your market. So I've gone and been able to take something that's $78 in value, and I'm explaining that it's a lower lead price, and so a Costco member can go something like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Yes, it is a really good deal. So again, I'm looking to explain the value first of the experience before I've mentioned the price, versus saying, hey, it's $50 and you get this and you get that, and people don't really know what that's worth, because again, no one's like looking at iFLY every day to come do like a commodity. So it's important to know that, and then while you're explaining that, there's really good ways to reference the TV behind you, along with anything on perhaps on your smartphone if you have a YouTube on a video, and that's ultimately the way to introduce the presentation. So to help explain that, we're going to have a video to show you how to piece all that together. But the key thing is also to look at, as I've gained information through asking great questions, I can then tailor the presentation. So naturally, if I'm talking to my grandmother, I'm going to be focusing on a bonding experience for the family. I'm going to probably mention things like these don't expire, they're great stocking stuffers. If I'm talking to a company owner or a small business owner, I'm talking about things that are more relevant for employee morale. I'm talking about maybe a tax write-off, things of that nature. If I'm talking to a mother that has 2 kids that are in with her, I'm talking about safety. I'm talking about how our instructors take care of everything, making sure in customer safety, and the kids are going to be amazed, and they're going to be off their electronic devices for at least a couple of flights, and I'll experience something pretty amazing. So again, when talking about value over price, it's really key to start talking in features and benefits. So what we mean by that, features tends to be something about the nuts and bolts of the experience. So for example, you get a digital video would be the feature in the package. The benefit of the digital video is you don't have to decide. You can do this at home. You can download the video link once you get home, and you've got that experience in your inbox for the rest of your life. And so that way, that's more of the benefit of the digital video. The benefit of the feature is our experience includes all safety equipment. There's nothing you need to add or pay for when you come in and do this experience with the Costco program. The benefit is we don't compromise anything. We provide all the safety, so there's no concerns that you have when you come and do the iFLY experience. So again, features and benefits is very commonly used in training. And the important thing is just simply put yourself in the customer's shoes to understand, would a grandmother care about the same thing that a 28-year-old person care about if they want to take their significant other on a date night? So that's the way to sort of think about that. So as you're going through the presentation, you're going through this tailoring of the presentation, it's really important to reference buying and non-buying signs. And so we have a video to really go through that in great detail. The message here is really, really simple. As you're explaining the experience and as people are engaging with the placard or the content, you're going to sort of quickly know the degree someone's interested or not interested. And you could be sitting there and being the best ambassador iFLY has ever had, or A+ has ever had, and you would equally have as many people that are not interested in this experience. And the difference between people that are sort of new to this environment versus people that had a little bit more tenure and practice is being able to pick up on this exact step. So we have essentially listed out a few buying and non-buying signs, and I want to run through a few examples of that. So great eye contact and enthusiasm. Is the customer asking questions? And ultimately, are they grabbing multiple? You'll have some customers that are going straight to the pallet and taking them off. You haven't even said anything to them. So that's a huge buying sign, as you can imagine. Conversely, you'll have people that are non-buying signs and they're simply not interested. You're talking to them, they're being very polite and listening, but they're sort of staring off into the distance, or they are simply not holding the placard with any great intent. They're not reviewing any of the details of the placard. The chances are these people are probably a little bit not engaged or not interested, and they're probably people that you can politely stop and just move on. So whether you're seeing buying signs or non-buying signs, the important message is to stop. Instead of continuing to talk and talk and talk about the iFLY experience, or worse, have a long and awkward silence of not knowing what to do, you simply, when you're seeing buying signs, that knows you have permission to go and ask the closing question. If you don't see buying signs, or you're seeing non-buying signs, you also have the permission to stop and simply let the customer have a great day and give them a high five and simply say, we'd love to have you come down, and move on. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, this is a way to guard your attitude, to handle the no's. It's simply to say, unless I'm seeing interest and engagement, I'm simply not going to progress deeper into my presentation or in the steps of the conversation. So the next video that you have on that will cover that in great detail. To help put all this together, I appreciate you maybe listening to this going, well, it is a lot. And it's really important to know that there's a way for us to sort of break this down a little bit further. And the way they do that is on my cheat sheet, which we'll show you in a second. I tend to put numbers on my actual placard. There'll be a placard on your cheat sheet that you'll use for reference. And this is the way I'm able to put the numbers. So number one, I use the top section there where it's 78 and 49 on that display. That's where I'm breaking down the value, so talking about the value of what they receive and the dollars or the bucks that they spend to get it. I'm incorporating the TV and video. I'm referencing the pictures on the back of the placard. Again, remember the customer's holding this as I'm talking. And I'm typically mentioning 2 or 3 features and benefits, so things that they probably care most about. And then I'm also looking then at step 5 is looking for buying and non-buying signs. So these 5 simple sort of steps allows me to sort of build a bit of structure in my presentation. There's 100 things to talk about when it comes to iFLY. The important thing is just pick 2 or 3. And at the end of the day, you'll find people are going to respond to buying and non-buying signs, and that'll give you the permission to continue or the permission to simply move on and, again, politely give them a high five and let them continue on their day. So this video here is, again, putting it into practice, and this actually shows you the anatomy of the placard that you'll see inside of the Costco in 2019.
Okay, so next up we're going to talk about buying and non-buying signs, and this is a key video because this is going to show us where Dan really knows whether to move forward deeper into his presentation or whether to stop and speak to the next customer as well. So Dan, we've just covered the presentation. You've explained how great iFLY is and all the wondrous things. I'm a 20-something, I'm in my early 20s, you probably can tell that I'm really excited about adrenaline and I'm really going to be making sure I'm going to come to iFLY. Yeah. So how do I know to move on?
Perfect. So while you're giving your presentation, you want to be kind of looking at the customer or client and figuring out if they are displaying buying signs or if they're displaying non-buying signs. The top 5 buying signs, A, is going to be facial expressions. Do they seem interested in it? You know, B, body language. Are they withdrawn? Are they maybe looking for an escape? C, maybe the inflection of their voice, how they're speaking, asking questions. If they're asking questions about it, obviously they're still interested. Or maybe they're reading the card, you know, showing interest in that.
So you're saying, depending, it's kind of like a fork in the road. You say, depending on how they're reacting to you, it depends on whether you move forward or whether you stop.
Yeah.
And so if they are giving you buying signs, like they're reading the placard, they're looking at, say, the T's and C's on here, what do you do then?
Now it's time to close. Okay. Right, you don't want to spend too much time right in that selling pitch range. Once you realize you got a customer and they are interested, you want to close strong, close quick. How many do you think you'd be interested in?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess my wife and I could probably do this.
Perfect, 2 of them. All you got to do is take this right up to the front and let them know you'd like 2 vouchers for it, and they're going to get you all set up, all right?
That's all you need to do?
That's all you got to do.
Okay, cool.
It's that easy.
So guys, closing is, we're going to cover that in the next video, but you can tell through Dan's approach, it's very simple, it's very laid back, and it doesn't have to be aggressive at all. So when we say closing, it's all about just making the customer confident in their decision to come to iFLY in the first place. But let's go to the other, back it up a little bit and say, what if they're giving you non-buying signs and I'm really showing you signs of distraction, I'm not looking at you, like you said, I'm looking for an escape, and obviously that happens a lot throughout the day. So what do you do then?
All right, so whenever you've come to the realization that you don't have a customer, they don't want to purchase this, it's simple. You just ask them for the card back, simply take it back, wish them a great day, let them know you're going to be here all day. Stop by if you decide to change your mind or you want some more information. But right now, you have a great day and enjoy the rest of your shop.
Oh wow, so you actually end the conversation?
Yeah.
So what do you mean, like you don't?
So you want to politely end the conversation and retrieve the placard back, right? You don't want to spend all day long trying to work on one customer while another 20 are walking by. And at the same time, you're wasting their time and yours. You've got things to do today, so do they. You want to get out of this politely, but efficiently.
Guys, this is a great tip because obviously, as you can imagine, we're asked to speak to 100, 150 people a day. If we're able to end conversations efficiently and politely and respectfully, we're able to do another big thing, which is maintain our own attitudes. If we're copying 150 no's a day, the odd yes, but 150 no's a day, everyone would be worn down by that. So by being able to end the conversation, by pulling the placard, which we'll cover later in a different section, why that's important, but it's really about making sure that, look, he's not interested, we'd love to have you anyway, sir, we're here all day, you did it well, and of course, we're pulling it out, we're moving on to the other 150 customers that are really excited about coming to iFLY as a Christmas gift as well. So awesome stuff, Dan. We'll go to the next guy.
Hi, it's Brendan here with the Costco video training series. I wanted to take a moment to talk a bit more about the anatomy of the display cards, or placards as we often refer to them in Costco. So you'll see that these placards are on top of the pallet or they're on the pegboard that you'll see. And I wanted to walk through some of the detail that you see. You'll see a copy of this inside the training materials, but I just want to give you a visual so you can kind of see, hey, it's quite sturdy. We mentioned you want to get that in the customer's hand as much as possible. But the price tag is right front and center, $49.99. There's a savings bubble, or dot whack we call that, which is explaining that the value of this package is up to 36%. And more importantly, if you look on the back, there's some genuine experiences. So if, for example, you don't have the full palette on display, this is able to showcase to the member what's inside the iFLY facility and what they would expect. All the details of what's included in the package are on the back. Obviously, there's some really important T's and C's that we covered. Things like making sure that we have waivers completed, anything that has maybe some medical concerns that we should be considered about. Go through that details, talk to your trainer or your iFLY GM about any of those questions, and then be on your way. So again, these are the placards, one of your best tools in explaining the experience to members all over the country.
So this video is taking the content that we just covered in the last couple of slides and putting it into practice. So you'll see Dan and I interacting as we walk through that presentation.
Alright guys, well next up guys we have the presentation. So we've got our introduction, we've got smile, eye contact, enthusiasm, we've qualified the customer through a killer short story. Now it's all about engaging with them and explaining why they need to come to iFLY in the first place as well. So when you look at the presentation, what are the steps that you use inside the presentation?
Inside the presentation, like I said, you want to make sure you qualify them.
Yep.
Right? How many people did you think were going to be coming? Get the card into their hands?
I'd say about 4 people.
4? Perfect. So generally, if you go to the store right now, that's going to be $80 a person. 4 people, it's like $320.
Oh wow.
We're going to give it to you here, right here in Costco, for just 50 bucks. Less than 50 bucks. Right?
Oh wow, that's a really good deal.
Yeah. And at this point, you want to start to tailor your presentation to the individual, right? There's several different groups. There's the mom with the kids, there's the middle-aged adrenaline junkie, there's the older folks, and then there's the regular dad who's just in here shopping for stuff because everyone else is busy, right? There's a million different ways to do it. Kind of pick your audience and tailor your presentation towards them. He looks like a middle-aged adrenaline junkie, so I'm going to go with that.
So you're saying you don't say the same thing over every single time, you customize your pitch?
Yes, customize it. It's going to help you with your sales. It's also going to help you with your attitude. If you're saying the same thing all day long, you're going to get into a monotone, it's going to get boring. You're going to lose that enthusiasm.
Got it. So, and then once you get through your presentation, I mean, how many things do you normally mention about iFLY to convince them to come to iFLY? I mean, there's 1,000 things we could say, but you typically find 3 or 4 things? Or?
I try to stick to right at 3.
Okay.
You start to get 4, 5, 6, you're trailing into it, it's becoming a long procession, and you're actually wearing them down and pushing them away.
Awesome, makes sense. Well, really good advice, guys. And from this point, from now, they'll be able to recognize buying and non-buying signs. And that's really where we'll know whether to progress to what we call the close, or whether we should wrap it up and let them go about their day and maintain our attitudes like Dan's mentioning. So, go.
Awesome. So the next step, which is the 4th step of our conversation, is all about knowing when to close and when to not close. And so closing can be a really sort of intimidating topic for a lot of people that are new to sales, and even people that have been in sales for a long time. And so it's really, again, a recap on where we're at. We've got our introduction, we've got our short story to qualify the member, we've also got our amazing presentation, and all of that's designed to make sure if we've sort of got great intro, short story, and presentation, your close becomes really, really simple and easy because you've built up enough impulse. And so the first step of having a great close is simply to have a great first 3 steps, because the customer, again, in this particular environment, the customer will be so jazzed and excited to come or buy this as a gift, then they'll be ready to say, well, what do I do next? And that is the best question and best buying sign you probably will ever get. And you'll get it throughout the course of the program. So the goal of closing is to simply do a couple of things. And what we are going to have another video here, but we use an assumptive close, which is a very commonly used expression in sales, which basically assumes that the customer is going to go ahead and purchase the package. So the way we do that is assuming that, again, they'll be able to pick it up for the holiday season. So all you need to do is show this when you're checking out, and I'm talking about the placard. So just take this placard, pop it into your shopping cart or trolley, depending on what part of the world you come from, and you're able to, they'll give you the actual live tickets after you do that. They'll pick it up from that merchandise pickup that you see over there in the window. Sounds pretty cool, right? So again, I've oversimplified that, but again, the intent here is to really be this light and simple as much as we can. So again, a recap, an assumptive close is all about assuming that they will go and do the next step. And two things will happen in that is that they will either ask a question, which again is a big buying sign. They'll want to reconfirm they understand the details of the offer. And all of that's really, really positive. It's a chance to go back, re-explain, show that you're knowledgeable about the product, and then go back into the close. But the other thing that would happen is you potentially would get the real reason what's holding them up. And so it could be safety concerns. It could be, you know, do I have to pick it up now? These type of things are very, very, very common rebuttals, which we'll get into. The other type of close we have is an alternate close. And so what happens with the alternate close is you're typically providing two options. And again, a very common technique and a very effective one, which is simply saying if you've asked the qualifying question and the qualifying question, remember, was when you do come to iFLY, or if you came to iFLY, how many people would you come? I've asked that in step 2. Now I can simply say, well, did you want to pick up one for all 3 kids, or are you thinking this is for 1 or 2 of your children, or what do you think is the best? And by providing them with an option that's not 0, meaning I don't want to say, do you want to do this? I want to say, do you want to take all the grandkids, or do you just want to take your favorite grandkid? And by asking it like that in a lighthearted way, she'll probably laugh, which is a great sign of buying signs if you have humor and laughter. But also you want to be able to take 0 out of the equation. And again, the response could be, oh, I'll probably just get 2. I'll get one for Jimmy and I'll get one for Johnny. And that's great. And that's, again, a big buying sign, and then they're moving on to putting the placards in the cart. So again, it's all about whether that's picking up the experience before the holidays, before Thanksgiving, whatever that scenario is, it's all about providing 2 options that isn't 0, and it's being able to, back to the first point, which is open-ended, because again, letting the customer be able to pick a choice is better than saying sort of yes or no. So as an effective way to do that, and the other one is building time urgency. I mentioned a few things like the promotions that we're going to be running. So if you know this, if a Costco member only comes once every 28 days as per Costco, and you know we're, say, running a TPD promotion or a temporary price discount, which is where we have the $5 off or the $6 off, I would totally be using this close, which is all about time and urgency. So simply saying, just today only, or just through this weekend, we actually are running the $5 off or $6 off promotion, as they'll see on the sticker behind me. Next week, this package will be back to $49 or $59. So you best to pick it up today. You'll save $10, $20, depending on how many of these you're going to get, and it'll make it for a great stocking stuffer, and we can't wait to see you. So incorporating that urgency is a great way, and that's called a limited time close. So let's put all that into, again, an example in Costco. Here's Dan and I running through that very example.
All right, guys, so next up we're going to talk about the close, which is often, like I said in the previous section, a bit of a daunting topic, but it really doesn't have to be. And Dan's going to show us his simplest and most basic close that helps customers simply deliver, be able to experience the dream of flight. And so now we talked about buying and non-buying signs. I've just come out of a great presentation. I'm showing you buying signs as well. So where do you go to start the close?
All right, so like I said before, the close needs to be short, sweet, and to the point. You see the buying signs, you know they want it, simply ask them. So I've seen a lot of people out here, most of my customers are getting multiples for their family and their friends.
All right.
How many do you want today?
How many of these can we get?
You can get up to 500 per customer.
500?
500 per customer.
Okay, that'd be, I don't have 500 friends, but I was just thinking for my wife and I, and yeah.
All right, so you need 2? Perfect. Just take one of these right up to the front and let them know how many total you need, and they're going to take care of you right now.
Got it, so they actually have the tickets up there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right on. That's one. All right, good. So that's an example of a lay-down customer. And again, you get those because, one, our brand is so powerful. It's such a fun experience. And so a portion of your sales each day will be those type of transactions where they simply say, yeah, I'll pick up a couple. I mean, they're the dream customers, aren't they?
Yeah.
As well. But the reality is, there's going to be, at this point, when you ask that question, often the output will be an objection or a reason why they aren't buying yet. And so that's the point where it's not a negative. It simply draws out the reason why I'm not really convinced yet that I want to purchase the iFLY voucher in Costco. And in that section we're going to cover is how to handle those. Again, objections is kind of a negative word, but in this case it's not. It just gives us the reason why it's still a buying sign. It just means they want to clarify something before they make that commitment as well, which we'll cover. But just to recap, the close is very simple, short, sweet, to the point. And what he's saying is an assumptive close. And the other option you could do is a 2-option close, and that's simply where I'm giving a lot of buying signs like you are right now, and I'm simply saying, hey Dan, the best part is most people pick up multiples of these for gifts and friends. We have like a pack of 4, which is really popular, but you can just buy 2 for you and your wife, like you said you were going to do as well. So do you want to do the 4 or do you want to do the 2?
Now that I think about it, that 4 sounds pretty good.
All right, sounds good. Well, yeah, just take one of those. You only need one. Otherwise, we'll run out here on the stand. So take it to the rash register, enjoy your shopping, and we'll look forward to seeing you down at iFLY. Okay. Right on, high five. Thank you. As well. So that's again a 2-option close that we'll incorporate, and but in the next section we're going to cover the very common word, which is objections, and how to overturn some of those obstacles that customers do have when they engage with iFLY.
Okay, so we've got our intro, short story, presentation, and close. Now that we've got, this is really the fun part now, where we know out of our 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 100, the big way for us to get to 20 and 30 units per day is simply by making sure that the customer is realizing that they have the ability to pick up a few of these packages. So there's all kinds of reasons as to why someone would pick up multiple. And it's really a couple of things in upselling is, as we're starting to engage, it's really having them understand that they can pick up multiple of these experiences. And so obviously there's a slew of reasons. I've got some of them listed here, whether it's employee gifts, so 1 for every employee that they may have in their small business, to stocking stuffers, family reunions, to flying multiple times if they want to come back and do this over and over again. These are all the reasons why to pick up a few of these packages. And the key is, yes, the placards is what they need to take. A technique in step 5 is actually putting multiple placards in their hand. And this is perhaps a little bit more advanced. It seems really simple, but most people will tend to sort of give them one and they'll pick up one. And then you're ultimately relying on the Costco member to tell the cashier, oh, I need 3 of those, or I need 2 of those, or I need 1 of those. So it's important to, if you give them more than 1 placard, it will inherently encourage them to buy more than 1 voucher. And that's exactly what it is. So don't be overly concerned about giving away all of your placards, because again, there's plenty there on the pallet. It's more, and again, you're able to retrieve those back from the cashier when someone goes and redeems them. So again, giving them multiples is a great step to doing that process. Again, our goal is to find 1 out of 10, 10 out of 100 to pick up the promotion. Often you may have a bit more of a slower day. Upselling is a great way to still get to your number, because if everyone does pick up 2, you only need to find 5 buyers a day to hit your 10 out of 10 sales per day, which is, again, in November is a pretty successful day. So it's important to realize that in the iFLY experience, the average experience, someone coming to fly at iFLY is 2 or 3 people in a household. So be encouraged knowing that no one typically flies by themselves. They're typically walking in the door with a couple of people through our experience, so they may as well pick up a couple at Costco.
Alright guys, well the last step we have to cover is a really important one, which is upselling. And for those of you out there, our average rep last year was doing about 20 to 25 vouchers per day.
And one of the key ways of getting to those averages is simply making sure that everyone that purchased one buys multiples. So any advice from a man that's done lots of them to getting the customer to pick up more than one?
Yeah, multiples was my bread and butter. That's probably 70% of my sales I made into multiples. By telling them, you know, get it for the whole family, that's a good 5 generally speaking. Make it a date night, take your friends out. I got a lot of grandparents, you know, these are the perfect stocking stuffers for the entire family. You can get generations together to fly together in the same group. They loved it. It's the easiest way to go from 25 a day to 75 a day.
I guess similar to the presentation, it's about customizing why they should buy multiples on there as well. But in the lead up to Christmas, guys, this is a huge stocking stuffer because it slots right in. It's a perfect way for them to buy 2, 3, 4 of them as well. So guys, if you want to increase your overall averages, upselling is the way to go by simply making sure everyone has more than one. And it's safe to say no one really flies by themselves when they're in the iFLY tunnel. All the reason why they should pick up multiples as well. So good luck with upselling. It's all about making sure you mention it several times throughout the presentation and not just at the end, because if you do that, they'll be thinking about how they can incorporate this in their overall experience and they'll simply upsell themselves. Good luck and happy upselling.
Okay, so now that we've gone through the 5 steps to a conversation, I really wanted to take a chance to tell you guys up front maybe what the most common reasons why people sort of have an objection or have an obstacle in this setting inside of Costco. So we've packaged up what those are, and we're going to provide you with some talk tracks to help overcome some of those objections. Now, it's not going to work 100% of the time. I guarantee that 100%. That the goal is we want to approach this in a way that has a lot of empathy. And what I mean by that, there's some processes that we build in, whether it's agreeing, isolating, overcoming, and reclosing is the framework. And I'll sort of break that down through some of the talk tracks along with some of the most common objections that we have. And these could come up before you've finished your close, before you've gotten much out the door at all. So it's important to know that these are this is sort of a moving target, so to speak, but we guarantee that you'll run up against a few of these throughout the course of the next couple of weeks. The first one is the initial reaction is iFLY is expensive, and iFLY in itself, coming in off the street, walking in and doing a fly experience, is on the top end of some of the experience. The key message here, just in general, is iFLY is in fact an experience and something that makes lifelong memories or memories that last a very long time versus, say, a tangible item that may be being given as a gift over the holidays. And the important thing is, when it comes to addressing this, is to really be empathetic and understand that you have a sort of an understanding of their situation. So again, that's expensive could be responded this way. So I know exactly how you feel. I was speaking with several other mums or dads today that felt the exact same way. And what they realized is that they actually, when they had jumped out of a plane and found out that these prices are reasonable compared to what they had paid actually skydiving, which is nearly $250, we actually is a ton of value because this is actually going to last much, much longer than a free fall skydive. You actually see the equivalent of 2.5 skydivers at nearly 1/4 of the price. So again, that's one approach. Again, I understanding how they feel. Other people felt the same way, and what they found out was that I'm explaining the value of, breaking down the value of iFLY. Put that into practice. We've got a couple of examples here. So the first one is customers that may share that it just inherently they believe iFLY is expensive. And it definitely is okay to agree with them because we know that we are the cheapest experience out there. And the key word there is experience. And the way we handle that is a couple of ways. There's a multitude, but here are 2 examples, option A and option B. So agreeing with the customer, saying, I know exactly how you feel, and I was just chatting to a few Costco members that felt the exact same way. And what actually they had done is they'd actually jumped out of planes before. So they looked at the experience of jumping out of a plane, which is normally $250, and you only get to do it once. versus being able to come to a place like iFLY where you get nearly 2.5 times the free fall time, and it's about a fourth of the price. So when you look at the experience of free fall when you're jumping out of an airplane, it's normally about $200 to $250 with a video. Here at iFLY, you get two 1-minute flights, which is both longer than a typical tandem skydive. And like I mentioned, it's about a fourth of the price. So that's one way. You'll have this in your repertoire and your training. You'll be able to ask for this as a talk track if you'd like additional copies of it or versions of it. Option B is a bit more blunt. And again, the key whenever you're responding with a blunt tone or the blunt response, it's always to have great smile, eye contact, and enthusiasm. And that's going to help with confidence and as you develop your skills and training. Simply saying, hey, the customer saying that's expensive. Absolutely. We fully know that we are one of the more expensive options in the market. And ultimately, we also know that putting a price tag on flying is hard. Something we often hear is that although we aren't the cheapest experience, once you've finished, you actually would have paid more to the experience. So saying that with confidence, with a degree of enthusiasm and happiness is a great way to do that. And Costco member would say, okay, then that's an interesting way to look at it. And so looking at our TripAdvisor reviews, looking at our the reviews we get on Yelp, you sort of simply just do that yourselves. You'll see that people rave about the experience and are very happy with their value perception once they've come and flown. So yeah, that's how to do that particular objection. The next one is just 2 minutes of time. So in the Costco package, there's 2 flights, both of 1 minute each. And there's a couple of ways to handle that experience. So the first one is the overall experience lasts close to 2 hours, and with the time spent in the tunnel with your certified IBA instructor accounting for 2 1-minute flights. Typically, a traditional skydive is 45 seconds of free fall, which is what the tunnel mirrors. So the iFLY experience mimics 2.5 actual skydives at a fourth of the price. So again, you can reiterate the one that you just mentioned on the previous slide. The second one is, I know exactly how you feel. I was speaking to other customers who felt the same way. What they found out was that world-class tunnel flyers, including the one that you'd be flying in, typically only fly a handful of flights at a time. And this is very true. Even the best flyers in the world don't spend more than a few minutes of tunnel time in the wind at any given continuous time. It's it can be very strenuous if you go beyond, say, 4 or 5 flights. And so we highly recommend 2 flights or 4 flights as an introductory flight experience. Very rarely would someone fly beyond that. And a way to sort of tie it back would be the option C. It's absolutely, just like anything you do for the first time, it can prove a little bit more difficult than it sounds. Imagine doing push-ups for 2 minutes straight, or for the first time you've ever treaded water for 2 minutes straight. It's a workout, and you'll feel it the next day in a great way. And so by tying it to physical exertion is a great way for someone to go, that is true. And often, many people would like to fly more time, but they also feel like it was continuous and it was a lot longer than a minute. And again, it's always 15 seconds longer than a traditional skydive. The last one is a very, very common one, which is I need to discuss it with my significant other. This is where I like to tie it back to the promotions that are happening, the fact that we aren't typically in Costco year-round and are only in for the holidays. And so the way to do this is I completely understand. I'd fully expect some dialogue with your spouse. I know my wife and I do the same thing on financial decisions. If you don't mind me asking, what particular was there to go over? Is there anything in particular that you'd like me to cover to go over with them, or help make sure you have the right answers? I'd love to answer any questions that they have. And this is very common if you have the spouse shopping together in Costco. The other way to handle it is to tie it back to the actual how busy iFLY becomes over the holidays. And so this is, again, educating the customer. So as I mentioned, we do fill out quite quickly, typically 6 to 8 weeks in advance on the weekends. And from my experience, what typically happens is that we have the date, everything's good, and by the time we actually take it back, we actually have no longer available over the holidays. So I guarantee, sir or man, we will fill up over the holidays. So as soon as you're ready to pick up, let's pick up now. You can actually make a reservation straight away, and you'll have your holiday entertainment ready to go. So again, tying it back to urgency and things like that is a great way to handle that. Again, if you're getting buying signs, it's transitioning it back to step 4, which is close, which is simply throw your hands up in the air and say, hey, it seems pretty cool, right? And by doing that, again, the customer is going to maintain that momentum and give you feedback. Last one is the safety one. We've talked about this quite a bit. It's simply saying, hey, option A, great question, acknowledging it's a great question. Absolutely, we're safe. We fly children as young as 3 all the way up to 103, everything in between. Since 1998, we've flown over 10 million people, which is a fact. And safety has been a continuous, and it's at the core of everything that we do. So from the design of the building to the instructors that we train, safety is a huge priority for the business, as you could all imagine. Now, the last one is probably my favorite. It's handling an awkward silence. And we have a video to show you on this particular topic. And again, silence isn't necessarily the best thing in this environment. Again, sales is all about momentum and continuing that momentum flowing. So again, the best way to handle awkward silence is just not let there be any. And again, this is a bit more advanced, but again, ultimately, the silence will continue to sort of cause you to lose momentum in the sale, like it's mentioned here. And there are some techniques to overcome. And some of those are simply asking questions, but also being able to go back and maybe mention a few things, like features and benefits, that you haven't actually mentioned. So an easy one I say here, maybe you haven't mentioned the fact that these things don't expire. You can go back to the placard and mention the fact that that is a factor. Maybe there's a couple of other things that you could mention that you think the customer is excited about, because you haven't told them everything. You've only told them 2 or 3 things at this point in the presentation. Pick number 4, number 5 thing to go back in order to build up impulse. And then as you see that impulse being built, or they've asked a question, now that's a buying sign. Answer that question, move into step 4. So that's called what we refer to as the closing loop. Again, I don't have a great illustration on this, other than the fact that you want to go back and mention a few things that you haven't mentioned, build up the impulse, read their body language, simply ask the question.
Okay, so next up, we've just done our close, and one of the key steps when we get to the close is often we have an objection or have to overturn an obstacle. So what are in Costco, what are the typical reasons why someone just doesn't say yes straight away?
Some people, you'll find a lot of the objections are, I'm scared, maybe they're afraid of heights, they've got to ask their significant other,
Okay.
right? Or maybe they're wondered why you only get 2 minutes.
Okay, the common one, yeah. Got it. So I guess break them down. So scared, heights, significant other, and then the time.
Yeah.
So I guess if someone says they're scared, what do you say?
Usually I let them know, if you're afraid of the heights, it's perfectly fine, because we're generally going to keep you between here and here, right? You're about that tall already.
Yeah.
Plus, you're going to be having a certified IBA instructor with you at arm's length at all times, keeping you safe while letting you fly around and have fun.
Okay, and what about the one for the 2 1-minute flights or 2 minutes of flight time? What's your typical response to win them over?
All right, so this again goes back to tailoring it to your audience. If it's a lady, I like to remind them of the last minute while they're drying their nails. They can't do anything. The adrenaline junkie guy, I remind them of the last minute on the burrito in the microwave.
All right, the hot burrito.
Bring it into a natural thing, right? You don't want to tell them to try to hold their breath for a minute. Things could get dangerous.
Right, and then the last one was the significant other, I guess the old ball and chain.
Yeah, you get that a lot. Oh, I got to talk to the husband, or I got to ask the wife, she got the check.
I get that
right?
a lot.
2 things I like to do is tell them to take this with you while you're shopping and call them, or even better yet, buy it and take them out for a date night. This is a wonderful date night. You're going to surprise the crap out of them.
Awesome, as well. And again, any other obstacles you have, or are they the big 3, do you think?
Those are the main 3.
Okay.
Right?
Awesome.
You might find some specific ones. Oh, my child is this, he's afraid. Well, you're right back to having the instructors.
So after you respond and I guess they're giving you buying signs, what's the next step, I guess?
Time to close.
Time to close. Okay. So what you've already closed them. So what?
So if they've got the objections, it's time to reclose. So how many of those were you taking today?
I guess I'll just get 2 of them from my wife and I.
Perfect. Just take that right up to the front and let them know how many you want.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So you actually go back in and ask the same question you already asked.
Yeah.
As well. But and then if they give you another obstacle, do you just go back and handle the obstacle, or how do you approach that?
That's something you got to feel out, because some people, they'll give you an obstacle, you'll hash that one out, and they'll give you another, and then they're on their way with the card in hand. Some people are just there to waste your time.
Okay.
You got to figure those people out. I can see this might be a little too much. Go ahead and think about it. We'll be here all day. Stop back by if you have any more questions.
Gotcha. Okay,
Enjoy
cool.
your shopping and have a great day.
So it's a key thing to master, guys, is obviously learning when the customer is generally wasting time and when they generally have concerns about the program. But again, it's all about enthusiasm. If we can explain our responses with enthusiasm, that's contagious. They can see that we're passionate about representing iFLY and obviously having them come fly, which is a huge step as well. So awesome stuff. Good. We'll go to the next section.
A quick mention about handling objections. It does take time to develop and build confidence in being able to respond. That's partly being around iFLY, the experience. It's partly being well versed and more practiced. It's fumbling and stumbling through your words until you feel what's comfortable for you. And just know that after a couple of hours of training, we don't expect you to be masters of this. It does take a little while to find your groove. And so just lean into that experience, lean into trying it, and bring your questions to Catherine and the A+ team. We're available to support you throughout the 7-8 weeks of the program. And we're going to continue some of this learning content along the way. Some of the more advanced skills beyond the 5 steps to a conversation is all about creating impulse. And sprinkled throughout a lot of the talking that we've been doing and examples you've seen in the videos has been those impulse factors. And to simply put it down, there's 4 key impulse factors that we have. It's fear of loss, indifference, which is my favorite one, greed, and sense of urgency. And I just wanted to break down some of those. And the first step is understanding that you will be probably more comfortable with some of these than others. And there's a way to approach them. But just know, when you're thinking about speaking to all the Costco members, people respond very differently to, or react very differently to different impulse factors. And some are, as you can imagine, if someone's hunting for a Christmas gift on Christmas Eve, they naturally have a little bit more fear of loss or sense of urgency than, say, someone shopping on October 31st for a Christmas gift. So that's sort of a real example where you may want to use different impulse factors to speed up the momentum and ultimately make a sale. So the first one is fear of loss. The fear of loss is greater than the need for gain, which is a bit of an old age adage, but ultimately the way you can incorporate that throughout your presentation is because of the huge discount we provide Costco members. We only do this once a year, which is a fact. We don't run this year round. It's only a holiday promotion. It does spill over into Q1 as we get through inventory, but ultimately most of this program happens from right now through Christmas Eve, as you saw in that chart at the beginning of the presentation. Indifference, which is my favorite one. Again, I guard this against my own attitude and how I maintain my attitude when I'm selling, which is, again, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. I mean, people generally love to find deals, and they get a kick out of that. I'm sure there's some type of endorphins that get released. So the way to do that is say, I'm not sure if this is for you. If it is, great. If it isn't, no big deal. So the way I would mention that as I go from step 2 into step 3. So as I'm putting the placard in the customer's hand, I'm simply saying, I'm not sure if this is for you. If it is, great. If it isn't, no big deal. And it's a way of really diffusing the salesman, the salesy approach of how to mention this to Costco members. The third one is greed. Again, it's the Jones effect. For those of you that grew up in any environment, you know, people that have a pool tend to have neighbors that have pools. People that have black SUVs tend to have neighbors that have black SUVs. And so all of that is very much about keeping up with the Joneses, which is a popular expression. And so simply mentioning that instead of why they need to pick it up or mentioning that this is the reason why, it's simply adding that, hey, what other people tend to do is pick up these in packs of 2 or 3 because they make great stocking stuffers, for example. The example I gave is what so-and-so did was purchase gift cards for all of their cousins, and they're actually going to turn this into a bit of a family reunion. So talking with examples of what other people similar to what their situation is a great way to say, instead of why Brendan thinks it's a good idea, it's actually why our current customers think it's a great idea. And the last one is the example I just gave, which is the urgency. We fill up over the holidays, we fill up on the weekends, so the earlier that they can pick this up, the earlier that they can make a reservation and find that time that they're looking for to celebrate the holidays or celebrate a birthday, for example, if they're giving it as a gift. So a few quick examples. Again, this is like a muscle in the gym. If you do it once, you're not going to get very big. If you do it over and over again, you're going to get better and more tone, and it's really important to be able to incorporate this and experiment with a few. Again, find the one that you feel more comfortable with. So do use that as your go-to, and then as you become more versed and more practiced, you'll be able to start incorporating some of these further and further.
So now we'll have an opportunity to spend some time with Wes Morgan, who is our sales expert at iFLY. And Wes is going to talk to us about how can we incorporate impulse factors into our presentation, specifically how we do that inside of Costco. So Wes, welcome.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Pleasure, Brendan.
And so how would you approach creating impulse and excitement? And I guess this is really the next level of incorporating this into our Costco presentation.
Yeah, thanks. So it breaks down to what we would call 4 factors of impulse. So an easy way to remember them would be figs. So
as in the fruit.
Yeah.
All right.
No, unfortunately not the fruit, but it would be fear of loss, indifference, greed, and then sense of urgency. Okay. So what that stands for, and then fear of loss. Fear of loss is greater than the need for gain. Okay. So what that would say is it's a limited time. This is a special promotion, and we're only here through the holiday season.
So I guess and that's something you would mention when during the 5 steps of the conversation.
Yeah, it'd be a great thing to mention in the short story and again throughout in the presentation. It's not something you would use exclusively or you would wait to the very end. Something you'd sprinkle throughout your entire pitch. All things that would increase the impulse for the customer prior to a purchase.
Okay.
Yeah. So secondly, would then move on to indifference. So indifference is not acting like a typical salesperson. Very much a phrase that's commonly used is, this may or may not be for you. Simple suggestions, simple shrug of the shoulders, some nonverbals as well as verbals. And what that does for the customer is it lowers their walls and yet again makes them more accepting for a purchase or an actual features and benefits presentation. Okay. Thirdly would be greed. So greed would be Jones effects, keeping up with the Joneses, selling through stories. So what all of the other moms and their families are doing this holiday season, these become great stocking stuffers. For all the other adrenaline junkies who have come in today, this is a great thing for them to really show their girlfriend a good date night. And then lastly would be sense of urgency. And sense of urgency yet again speaks to acting quickly, is that this is a limited time, and why they should purchase now when we do book up. And especially getting into the holiday season, it's much harder to find availability. So why they need to purchase today versus 2 weeks from now and use their vouchers.
It's more about the booking, actually getting into iFLY because we're so busy over the holidays.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So being able to use all 4 effectively throughout a pitch, not just at the end, not just in the intro short story, but definitely being able to weave that through your pitch is another level to selling.
You say weaving throughout the presentation, but is there one of the 4 factors of impulse that you use over another, or is that how do you sort of pick which one to use?
Well, I think it's understanding your customer. I think it's understanding off some of the needs analysis or some of the questions you may have asked them and some of the dialogue, just reading the person, and that's going to change from a mom and her children to the grandparents who are in looking for holiday gifts for all the grandchildren to the young adults who are just looking for the next thrill activity.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, there's the FIGs, as you call it, Wes. So fear of loss, indifference, sense of urgency, and greed. Also called the Jones effects that you were saying. So guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to incorporate those 4 factors of impulse throughout a presentation where Wes, like you said, weaves throughout the 5 steps of a conversation, and we'll see how exactly Wes does that.
So you've just covered the 5 steps of a conversation. We talked about impulse factors and how we could sprinkle some of those in. And ultimately, thank you for going through that with me. And ultimately, like I mentioned, there is a way to be successful in this program without even being a master of these 5 steps. They're designed to give you a framework to help self-diagnose, to chat to your peers about, to chat to your iFLY GMs about. And what we've done is essentially taken the 5 steps of a conversation, and for the first time this year, we've built you a single-page cheat sheet. So we'll save you having to send the entire presentation, the 42 slide presentation that we've covered here. Everything that is, the one thing that really matters on each of these steps is actually in these laminated sheets here. We've also put the display card and the actual copies of the tickets on the back. So this is for you. So when you come in for your orientation, we'll have these ready for you, and you'll be able to take it away. And as you practice in the mirror in the morning, as you are able to sort of self-diagnose in the middle of the day, the most popular icebreakers are on here. The most popular qualifying questions are on here. It's a reminder to look for buying signs and what those buying signs are. And the most common question, closing question, which is simply saying, sounds pretty cool, right? And if you ask that, again, you increase your chances of being successful exponentially by some of these key learnings.
All right, so 2 hours or so of training, that was a lot. So we appreciate that you may not memorize all of the information that we've covered today in the training decks and the materials that we provide. So over the next 7 weeks, as we embark on a big holiday season, what we've done is we've actually created a cheat sheet for you, which your GM of the iFLY location that you're in is going to provide you today. And that's really got everything that you will need to know, memorize, get better at as you work on your progression of being a great ambassador for the iFLY experience. So it's broken down into 4 different sections. So engage the guest, understanding needs and wants, making recommendations, calls to close. It's all there. And so if you're going through your day, representing iFLY, you're sort of struggling to get engaged with people, then you're going to go straight to the engage section, work out, am I using the right icebreakers, am I being, if I do have good C factors, do I have ask great icebreakers to engage? If I'm having trouble getting into the conversation, then I'm going to reference the red section here, which is understanding needs and wants, and am I qualifying the right amount of members by asking those questions to even start that conversation? And of course, making your recommendations is all about the best way to describe the iFLY experience. It's using the visual aids, the tools, the TVs, obviously the display card to talk about the iFLY experience, so you can get the impulse so high that you start seeing buying signs. When you see those buying signs, you've got the close. We talked about the 2-option close or the alternate close. And the best one, if all that can't be memorized, we totally get it. Just simply throw your hands up in the air, shrug your shoulders and say, sir or ma'am, sounds pretty cool, right? And if you do that with a bit of a head nod, you'll get that back. And that's a great sign you'll be on your way to making a sale inside the Postgrad program. So thanks for participating, thanks for listening, best of luck out there, grab your cheat sheets, and we'll be hearing you.
That ultimately is our wrap-up. So again, we asked some questions at the very beginning of this, which is saying, what are the goals of the session? So as you're sitting through this at home and attending the webinar, hopefully we've achieved some of those goals, and we look forward to meeting any of those things that are missing in our orientation that's coming up. We're going to ask you a few questions when you do come in to see us at iFLY. What are your top takeaways from the training? Cheat sheets will help you remember some of that. And ultimately, we would love to understand what you feel most comfortable with, and also what do you feel least comfortable with in that session orientation. So your visit to iFLY is coming up shortly. You're going to be flying, you're going to be doing exactly what the customer does when they come and experience it, but we've set aside a block of time to work one-on-one with our our top experts in the facility. Our GMs are going to be introducing themselves. You'll be picking up your flight suits, your laminated cards, any other tools that we have. And we look forward to working with you over the course of the next 7 weeks with your feedback, celebrating some successes as we introduce incentives and bonuses, as well as working with you for those that love some support and help. We're here available, and Catherine and I will be part of that. So with that said, thank you for participating. Look forward to meeting you either virtually or maybe in person when we pop around to warehouses around the country. And with that said, Catherine, if I can turn it back to you and give you control of the screen, and you can finish up.
All right, I'd just like to conclude with a few A+ staffing employee conduct reminders. Many of you have worked with us several times before, but these are just good points to review. So prior to each activation, please be sure to read your job description and job information thoroughly in Nextcrew. Your address for every Costco store that you will report to is in Nextcrew. You must have passed your iFLY sales certification with 80% or higher score, completed your flight training and on-site orientation, and received your flight suit in order to work your shifts. Do not hesitate to contact me with any information that you may be missing, any questions you may have, and my contact information will be on one of the next screens. You will receive a 24-hour and a 90-minute en route check-in from us before each shift. Please reply on those promptly. That helps us to ensure that we are fully staffed at all times and to answer any questions that you may have. Recaps. Recaps are due by 9 a.m. the morning after each activation. It is a very simple online recap form to complete. I do recommend maybe even completing it in the parking lot of Costco. You can do it from a smartphone and takes just a few minutes. So if you do it before you even leave the premises of Costco, you don't have to worry about it that evening or the next morning. Your flight suit is due back to the tunnel where you trained within 48 hours after your last activation date. No need to wash or launder it. These are an expensive item, and actually iFLY will take care of the laundry for you. Please do not return to any other tunnel, and do make sure they are returned on time because they may need to be washed and given to another team member for their activations. Our payroll policy. A+ payroll runs Monday through Sunday of each week. You will be paid the week following on Friday. Any late recaps or flight suit returns that are delayed may also delay your pay to the next pay cycle. Just our behavioral responsibilities with A+ staffing. Be sure to arrive on time. If you are going to be late for any reason, please communicate that to us during your en route check-ins. Wear your uniform. Maintain a positive attitude from the moment you arrive until you are out of the Costco. We realize it's the holiday season. Shopping can be stressful sometimes for consumers. It can be stressful for employees at Costco. Do the very best you can to maintain your positive attitude. We recommend bringing water, bringing snacks, packing lunch, so you have that all with you. Be willing to help out the Costco store management any way they need as it relates to the iFLY program. Do check on your inventory of vouchers in the store periodically. If for some reason you are running low on vouchers, please let me know that and I can address that with iFLY Corporate. There's a few ways we can address that, but if we don't know about it, we can't help. Do request a television to play the iFLY video above your pallet if there is not one. Sometimes the different Costcos are able to add a TV and sometimes they are not, but please let me know that and we will always see what we can do too. Always treat consumers, fellow ambassadors for other brands in the store, and anyone else in the warehouse with respect. Be sure to greet and engage as many consumers as possible. As Brendan said, this is a numbers game, so the more consumers we engage, the more vouchers you will sell. Feel confident in your talking points and your training material before going on site. Do not hesitate to give me a call and ask any questions. We want you to be fully confident and prepared to activate this program. These are fairly common sense, but please do not be late. Please arrive in your proper uniform, ready to work. Uh, if you are going to be late for some reason, communicate that to A+. Allow extra time to park at the warehouse. Again, in the holiday season, those parking lots can get busy. Cell phone use. When you get on site, you will check in on your Next Crew app. You will submit your check-in photo, take a photo of your pallet or pegboard setup for your recap, and then beyond that, go ahead and put the phone away until you are on a break and away from the footprint. Costco tends to frown upon members seeing phones out, getting a lot of photos during a shift, so please, no other photos needed. And we do not wish to have any reports of staff members texting away during the shift, things like that. If you do need to take a phone call, step away and give me a call or text me away from your footprint. There's limited space at the footprint for valuables, so we recommend keeping your cell phone in your pocket, your keys in your pocket, and hiding your lunch and your water so that that's not visible. But other than that, don't bring a large backpack, don't bring a bag with you. Costco is not responsible for any lost items. Keep your pay rate confidential. There are other brands in Costco this time of year. They do have different pay rates. We tend to be one of the higher paying programs, so please do not share your rate. It is confidential. If you are a smoker, we ask that you do not smoke near the Costco entrances. Out by your car is a great option for that. And please do not bring any kids, family members, or friends with you to the shift. Breaks, you are entitled in an 8-hour shift to a 10-minute restroom break in the morning, a 10-minute restroom break in the afternoon, and a 30-minute meal break about midday. We do ask that you not combine these breaks together. Please do not take them all at the beginning or the end of the shift. And do try to pick times in store when it's not the peak time. When you do have a lull in your shift, then go ahead and take those. When you are going to take your break, let the Costco manager know and put up your away sign that we will provide you so that consumers and management know that you are on a break. You may be asked to use a vendor entrance to the retailer. So if you are asked to do that, please comply. And likely you may be asked to sign in and sign out on a vendor log. Just write that you are with iFLY and the time you arrive and the time you leave next to your name. That is fairly standard procedure for all vendors in store. Again, we are a guest in Costco and other retailers, so we always need to maintain that attitude and just remember that we are a guest and it's a privilege that we are in there and able to work our shifts. And this is my contact information. Feel free to take a photo of this, download it to your smartphone so you have it. You can text me on that cell phone number for the quickest response and my email address as well. Your next steps, you will receive your iFLY certification quiz and make sure to submit your quiz score screenshot as directed. After successfully completing your quiz, you will be scheduled for your iFLY flight tunnel experience and your on-site orientation. Please do not leave your iFLY without a flight suit. That is very important. Welcome aboard and happy selling. Pleased to have you on the program for this year. And I'd just like to end with a few resources. These were the video links that were in the training today. Do not hesitate to reach out at any time with questions you have. We are here to support you and looking forward to a great holiday season.